Oh yeah, we do be rolling.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Or do you want
I can introduce myself. I am Grace Hudson Park. I am the Assistant Director to Natural State Performing Arts, and I am also playing the role of Edgar Allan Poe in our Hallowed production.
We're really glad to have you as part of the production. Obviously, you're in Little Women as well. You didn't have as big of a role kind of behind the scenes. So what's been different, challenging, exciting about being in the show, but then also being part of the choreography team? You've been back there making sets and all kinds of stuff. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's been so much fun. It's been really wild because I am learning so much information about all of this behind the scene work that as my career has taken off from like being a child into where I am now, I've never once in my life thought about it. And as a choreographer, it was difficult because I'm choreographing on, 8 people. And the only other time I choreographed was a solo on a professional. And now I have 8 student dancers. So that in itself, I'm like, if you see my notebook, it's crazy. I've got all these like weird staging notes with the initials and downstage right. And I'm trying to like these dotted lines, trying to figure out where everybody's going and where they are on the stage at all times. But it's been extremely fun. Yeah, I've loved creating the scene. I'm also choreographing with one of my childhood friends, Marissa, which has been an awesome process. And she's really been helping me create the storyline of our whole scene because we have a whole poem, The Haunted Palace. As for set design, I feel like that's a whole nother ballpark I've gotten myself into. Now I love crafts. I'm a crafty queen, and that's what I do on my weekends. But creating these set pieces for Hansel and Gretel, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I've got that, no issue. And it's been a lot more than I was imagining, and I'm really challenging myself, and I want them to look unique and not so Candyland, land of sweets. I want them to look more unique to Hallowed Harvest. So that's been a challenge, and I'm spending a lot of hours in detail work, and I've got all my acrylic paints back there, and it's a mess, but it's getting there.
Yeah, everything looks great so far. So excited to see you finish everything up. You were talking about the people that you're choreographing on. You said you have 8 dancers. They're all varying skill levels, right?
Yeah.
How has that kind of informed your choreography? How has teaching here kind of helped with that?
So it really helps having a ballet class. I teach on Tuesdays, the level 3 ballet class into the pre-point. And a lot of my girls that are in my piece are also in that class. So that's really anything that I want to choreograph and put on them. If I'm not sure that they know those steps or have that ability yet, I can include it into my classwork. And we can work on it there. And so that has kind of given me a leg up in that sense. They're also, although varying levels, they come in each rehearsal with a happy heart and very open to learning anything and everything. So I'm never worried about presenting something new because I know that by next week they've gone home and they've worked on it so many times. Really anything that I've given that I'm like, oh, it's not quite there, we'll work on it next week. I see them again and it's there. Yeah. I'm very blessed by my students, I would say, first and foremost. In that sense, and they also are picking up extremely quickly. So I really have been pushing myself to choreograph as quickly as possible because each week I come in thinking I'm over prepared and finding that I've given everything I've over prepared with. And now I have to come up with something new for next week.
Because they learned it all.
Because they learned it all. Yes, if you see me at home, I'm in my living room just my sweet husband, he's learning with me.
Yeah, so that's another thing is that Lane is making another appearance, your husband. How has it been kind of working with him? You worked with him in Little Women. How is that? Because I know he's not from this world, really.
I forced him into it. It's great. It's really cool. It's really cool to have your partner, your life partner, be interested in something that you're so passionate about. And I think that's something you guys as well
Yeah.
relate to. But I don't know, it's just it makes me feel very loved first and foremost. And he's very interested. It's not like he's just doing it for me. He genuinely wants to learn and is interested and has fun. And
Yeah.
and we obviously love spending the time together here too. But yeah, it's been fun. We have very many nights where we're at home and I teach them the positions and what plie and tendu is and all the things. And it's really cool to have him take an interest in what I've made my life into.
Right.
You know?
Right. So switching gears a little bit, you are playing Edgar in Edgar Allan Poe. Super transformative kind of character. There's a lot of change that happens with him throughout the show. So what's kind of been your process getting into that character, figuring out how you're going to act it on top of all of the incredible choreography that you've been doing?
He does go through such an emotional roller coaster. But I think that has already started by the time the ballet starts. So as of right now, I've only learned small portions of what I'm doing. But we've kind of started with my opening solo that kind of opens the ballet up. And I think for me, whenever I'm dancing it, I'm thinking of his childhood and what has kind of brought him up into this point where he starts writing these poems. Like, what has happened in your life that has made you sit down and write these things? Because then as the ballet goes on, he's watching his own poems kind of transpire and seeing how they affect people. And I think what it must be like to be in that place writing those and what kind of thoughts are going through your head. And what kind of memories are you pulling from to inspire that? And I think he wrestles a lot with choosing some memories, putting twists in them so that they're not so real and so personal, but then also sees other memories and is like, no, that's too far. So that's kind of how I play with it. And I relate it back to my own life a lot. I try and pull my own thoughts, my own memories, so the audience can see my process as I'm acting it out. I think that's really important to try and relate it back to yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks flat.
How about for like your experience as a dancer? Because I know generally you've played very feminine, princess fairy tale type roles. How do you feel playing something that's different and maybe more masculine or pedestrian rather than, the fairy tale ballerina?
It's a challenge. It's difficult. The fairy tale princess ballerina comes very easily to me. I actually feel like performing Jo in Little Women helped me a lot with this. She is a little bit more of a boyish character. She did have a little bit more of a pedestrian air to her. I think Jo kind of plays like both sides sometimes. She wants to be like this princess. She wants to be like her older sister Meg, but then at the same time she knows to her core that's really not who she is. So I think she kind of struggles between the two. And so then coming into this, it was a little bit of an easier transition because I had already been dancing something a little bit more pedestrian. I think the challenge with this one is how deep those emotions are set in. I mean, what's going on with Edgar Allan Poe is already a part of himself. And I have to start the audience kind of in the middle of it. And, and to be like,
Almost
this is where we are. Yes, exactly. Like, we don't get to see his childhood life play out. I have to catch them up.
Right.
And there's a lot of deep-seated anger and hurt in that. And I kind of have to put that on right away, which has been my challenge. I think the difference between dancing something a little bit more princessy, a little bit more classical ballet versus what I'm performing now as Edgar Allan Poe, the stylized is already a little bit more contemporary. And there's a lot going on in this character. I think I tend to like roles like Edgar Allan Poe because I feel like I'm really telling a story with it. We've seen so many princesses, so many lovely ballerinas, and I've gotten to do those things, luckily, a lot. And I'm so blessed to have gotten those roles, and I'm not done with them. I love them. I will continue to do them. But portraying something like Edgar Allan Poe, I feel like it's such a unique opportunity. I love telling this story. I think it's so cool, and I love bringing the audience in and letting them in on what I'm thinking. And with a princess, sometimes you don't get to see what her life is like. She just is pretty and she lives in a castle. No one asks her any questions. And my favorite piece to watch in Hansel and Gretel is the coyotes. They're so cute. First of all, they're so cute, and I think they do a great job. The music choice is perfect. Also, close second would be gingerbreads, because I love watching you lift every single gingerbread.
Yeah, we can talk about that in my interview. Look forward to that.
More to come.